This is Rise. Let's lock in with the goal of changing one life at a time. Yours. Together, let us rise up, inspire, strengthen, and elevate our minds. It's time to rise on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello, my name is Dr. Saran Heron, and welcome to Rise. Today we're going to talk about domestic abuse and how to get out of it. My guest today is Phoenix Rose, who's an award-winning author celebrated for her influential book, Walking in Aloha, 5 Steps to Living Your God Potential, which embraces God's full potential for life through the principles of affirmations and action, leadership and love, overcoming obstacles, health and healing, and acute awareness. As a devoted Christian, Phoenix work is deeply rooted in her faith, guiding readers to lead purposeful lives centered around spiritual and personal growth. She is married and blessed with children and grandchildren. Phoenix's joy also span across continents as she's a passionate world traveler. These journeys has enriched her understanding and appreciation of diverse cultures, further deepening the message of love and unity she shares through her writing. She is currently pursuing her career in criminal justice and aiming to expand her ability to advocate for justice. She is here to share her personal story on escaping a violent relationship and rebuilding her life, offer real actionable advice for people to help themselves and their loved ones to do the same. Phoenix Rose, welcome to Rise here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Aloha. Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. Now, you're currently pursuing criminal justice. And prior to that, tell us about the degree you have and what are some things that, getting a criminal justice degree will allow you to do?
Well, at first, TSA offered a Homeland Security program, which I took, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't know that after taking that, I was qualified for applying for the criminal justice program. And not knowing what I could get from it, I actually looked it up and did a little study on my own of what criminal justice can get me. And I was surprised that one thing stood out was victim advocate.
Wow.
And that is one thing that I was like, how great is that God can put that together and
right.
get me from being a TSA officer to now pursuing criminal justice.
Wow, amazing. Now, you also wrote a book. How did you come up with the title of that book?
So, Walking in Aloha, when I was telling my story to several different people of the church, friends, they were like, you need to write out your testimony. You need to share it with people because what you're sharing, you can actually help people. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't know. And I did not want to relive the domestic violence and all of that. So I literally had to take it to prayer. And I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, if you need me to do this, if this is something that I'm supposed to do, you need to tell me how to do it because I don't know what I'm doing. And he said, I gave you everything in Aloha. And I was like, what? And so I started writing everything out. And I saw that, yeah, he did. The way that I got through the domestic violence and through to the healing to where I am today was through Aloha, through the affirmations and actions that I had to take, through the leadership and love that I had to have for myself and leading myself out of things, overcoming obstacles, health and healing, and acute awareness. Aloha. That spells out Aloha. And I was like, that is walking in Aloha. 5 steps to living your God potential life.
Beautiful. I love it. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about your life. And, we're going to go back a little bit in time. So I want you to bring us back to the time when you were going through a divorce and you decided that you were going to relocate back to Hawaii. Talk to us about that time.
Well, yeah, it was a hard time. I decided to relocate back to Hawaii. I started online talking with an old boyfriend from the time I was 16 years old, telling him my problems and everything. And he made things seem like so safe and that, he could take care of me. And so I actually came back to Hawaii for that reason, for him. right? I never knew that it was going to be the worst decision of my life. So he actually ended up being, like very nice in the beginning.
Right.
And then in the end, to that point where police was over the house and I'm ending up in the hospital and, things like that. It was just horrific. But, I know that from what I understand of myself now, I'm like, I shouldn't have confided in him first. I should have confided in God first.
Now,
So, yeah.
now, many people who are listening to the program, are looking into the story and say, "Oh my God, how did this happen?" Let's talk about some of the characteristics that you started to realize that your partner had, like the mind games. Share with us some of the manipulations that you endured.
Yeah, like I always say, it didn't start that way. It didn't start that way. It was very nice, very caring, Then it was control. Are you going to wear that? Were you looking at that guy? Just those little things. And then it just built on that where I started questioning my worth, myself. And so I know that it's a tactic that abusers use, not knowing that I was in the middle of it and it was getting deeper.
Wow. Now, there's different types of abuse. Of course, domestic violence is not the popular topic that we're talking about, but unfortunately, it's something that you find very common in our society today. And, for our listeners, abuse come in different forms. How would you categorize your abuse if you had to categorize it?
How would I
Categorize
categorize
your
my abuse?
abuse. Yeah, was it verbal? Was it, physical?
Oh,
Of course. Hmm.
in the beginning, I just felt like it was emotional, right? He played on my emotions. I was already going through the divorce. And the one thing that he would say was, that's probably why you're going through the divorce, because you're that way, right?
Love
Pointing
that.
things
Yeah.
out, like, I'm like,
Wow.
oh, maybe it is me. Maybe it is me. So the mental abuse, the emotional, and then it got to where it was verbal and then the physical, where things were broken at first and then it was me. So he would throw things, break things at first, and I was like shocked at that. But yeah, then it started to become physical.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the police came to your home. Bring
Hmm.
us back to that day when the police came to your home. I know we talked a little bit about it, but I want you to share with our listening audience a tactic that you pretty much had to use on that day, which worked for you and brought some help and shed some light
Yes.
onto your situation, which helped to change your life at that time.
Yes. So at that time, I was teaching preschool. And the one thing that we were teaching the children was that, when you're in trouble, you can't just scream and run and nobody knows what's going on. You need to speak. You need to speak out. And when he cornered me in the room, I had my phone on me. I said, I'm going to call the police. He grabbed my phone and broke it. So right then I knew I had no way of communication on the outside. And I was deathly afraid. But then that came back to me, teaching the children, right? Isn't that the greatest thing? Like
Yes,
learning
yes.
that and then using it myself. I actually started backing up towards the window and I was talking out loud, not in a frantic way or anything, just being very clear. You already broke my phone. You can't keep me in the room. You can't keep me locked up in this bedroom. And I was saying everything that was happening. You already hit me. My mouth is bleeding, things like that. I was saying it out loud. And I knew that there was a security guard station that was a little bit right outside of our house. And I was hoping at that moment that there would be a security guard
Right.
close enough to hear.
Of course. Yes.
And thank God there was, because in the middle of all of that, after him hitting me and bashing his head into mine, headbutting me, we get a knock on the door. And it was his son saying, there's the police at the door. So yeah, that did save me.
And as we talked about it when the police showed up, what did they say? Because you had to get pictures taken, right?
Yes, at first I was so afraid. As soon as he went out of the room, I was like, I needed to hide. So
Right.
I hid in my son's bedroom and I locked the door. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. I could hear the police talking outside. And I guess they were looking for me at the time
Right.
because
Right.
then I get a knock on the bedroom door and they're like, this is the police. You're safe. Open up, and I'm like, oh, do I really? I'm like, do I really open the door? And I slowly open the door and I am like cowering down. I'm like on the floor in the dark and I open the door and this officer is standing there and I'm like, oh my gosh, it is really the police, and I'm okay, I'm safe. So I come out and I'm sitting down and they're like, oh, you need to, they're checking out everything, asking me questions, and they said you need to go to the hospital. We need to call a photographer in to get pictures. And I'm thinking, why? Right? I didn't realize how I look because I was just in this whole thing, in the middle of this whole thing. I didn't even think about the beating I was taking. So
Wow.
by the time they came, they said, oh, you probably have a concussion because of that size of the lump on my head. They had to take pictures of everything. And I was so surprised. My lip was just busted, bleeding. I didn't even think I looked as bad as I did.
You are listening to Rise on the Voice of Nassau Community College 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Saran Heron, and today we're talking with Phoenix Rose, who's an award-winning author, celebrated for her influential book, Walking in Aloha, 5 Steps to Living Your God Potential, which embraces God's full potential for your life through the principles of affirmations and action, leadership, love, overcoming obstacles, health, and healing and acute awareness. As a devoted Christian, Phoenix's work is deeply rooted in her faith, guiding readers to lead purposeful lives centered around spiritual and personal growth. She is now married, blessed with children and grandchildren. Phoenix Joy spans across continents as a passionate world traveler. These journeys enrich her understanding and appreciation of diverse culture, further deepening the message of love and unity she shares through her writing. She is here to share her personal story about violent relationship and how she rebuilt her life and how you too could do the same. Now, Phoenix, we've been talking, and obviously, you've been through a time that as we're, having this conversation, and the reason why you want to talk about it is because you want to help others. Now, you obviously had to get some strength, but I want you to talk about that turning point where the doctor asked you, are you okay, the first time and then the second time, and how you began to take the steps that ultimately changed your life and allowed you to escape from such a relationship that you were having.
Yes. So I actually needed a new doctor and I was referred to this doctor. And when I went in, he was actually just seeing me for a frozen shoulder. So I thought, and he asked, do you want him to come in or do you want him to stay outside? And I was like, oh no, he can come in because I knew that if I said, oh yeah, stay outside, it wouldn't have turned out very well. So he had to come in. And so that was, just a normal visit. Then the second time I went in, he just came out and said, you're going to wait outside. And I was shocked at that. I was like, oh. And then we went in and he asked me, are you okay? The first time he asked me, are you okay? I'm like, yeah. But when we were in the room by ourselves and he looked at me and he goes, are you okay? And I just felt this burden like, oh my gosh, I can actually tell someone, and I was kind of stuck in that middle where do I tell or don't I? And I just started talking. And the more I told, the tears just poured out. I was just
Right.
so moved by the ability to just be free and be able to tell someone what was going on because I was hiding for so long And I was like afraid because he said, you can stay here. We can have him removed and we can get you help. And I was like, oh no, you can't do that because I have family that is living at home.
Right.
And I didn't know if at that time, if that happened, right? If they took him away, if, I was removed from the home, what would happen to the people living at the house?
Right.
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 I did not want to cause anything for them and have them displaced in any way. So I was like, no, I have to go home. And then he said, well, then we're going to help you. And he set me up with a psychologist. And at first I was like thinking, oh no, I'm not crazy.
Right.
I
Right.
want to
Right.
talk
Of
to
course.
someone,
Right.
and he
Right.
was like, no, that's not what it is.
Right.
We're going to help you through this. And so, yeah, I started seeing him. I started seeing my psychologist, and she was amazing. At one point, I ran out of my insurance. I couldn't pay her anymore. And I was like, well, I can't see you anymore. And she said, no, I will see you out. I won't see you dead.
Wow.
That even now saying the words, right? Just saying the words,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
hard. But she wanted to see me out. And so she said that she's going to do everything pro bono. And she was
Wow.
able to see me still until I was able to escape. And I say the word escape because that's just how it was. It's not just simple leaving.
Mm-hmm.
When you're leaving something like this, it's not just simply walking out. I actually had to escape. I left, um, pretended that everything was fine. I went on a trip and never came back.
Wow. Now, for our
Yeah.
listeners who are listening, you got the right help. You took the right steps by accepting the help, and
Mm-hmm.
part of accepting the help, you did some. How do I say it? Like you say, you didn't. You knew based on the advice that was given to you that you can't just leave because you didn't want to create any suspicion. So you took your time. So I do hope our listeners who may be in this unfortunate situation, realize that people will help you, not to just, put yourself in further danger, but to help you. Now, for our listeners, whether it's college students or our other listeners who are listening, what advice do you want to say now that you've obviously rebuild your life? You have a new life. Give to those who are feeling stuck in that same situation of abuse, whether it's verbal, whether it's physical, and thinking, I can't leave. There's no way I could leave. I have nowhere to go. Because, I mean, support, I would assume a support system is very critical in this, for this, for you to get out. What do you want to say to our listening audience?
Yes, the support of your community to be able to open up and reach out is the best thing I can say, is to get safe, to reach out, to get help. You can't really do it on your own. A lot of times that is what they use, is they try to keep you alone, keep you secluded so that you
Yes.
don't have that backup, right?
Yeah.
But that is what you need. And, I just advise everyone that who's in the situation to look at their situation and know that it doesn't get better. It's sad to say. A lot of times they want to stay in there and they think that they can help the person, right? Oh, I can help this person. I can make them,
Right, right,
I
right.
can I can do this. I can do that. But a lot of times that's not going to happen. They need to know that they need to get safe. It happens too often where people try to stay in and help and then they end up hurt, right? Or they end up dead.
Now I want to
And
talk about briefly your family members. You were worried about them. That was one of your main concern. And
mhm.
just share with the listening audience, after you managed to leave and you went back to your family, what did you later find out?
Well, at first, like, I thought I couldn't tell them anything, right?
Right,
I was
right.
protecting them.
Mm-hmm.
But when I did open up and tell them, because I was safe and everything, and I was like, are you guys going to be okay? They were like, I wish you told me before. We
Right.
could have done something before. So that's one thing that through the manipulation, through the abuse. It actually makes you feel like that, where you cannot say anything. They try to put it into you that you are alone. Nobody's going to believe you, right? Nobody's going to believe you. And they try to be, for me anyway, the nicest person to the people around you. So it seems like you're the one, you know,
With the
you're the
problem.
one making things up,
Yeah.
right? You're making things up.
Yeah.
And you're like, how can I tell them anything when he's doing this? How can I tell them anything when he's being so nice?
Almost like
So,
they won't
yeah,
believe you. It doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense. But yeah, but when I did open up and when I did start talking to people, I honestly said, I wish I opened up before because I found out more things.
You were listening to Rise on the Voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. My name is Dr. Saran Heron, and today we're talking with Phoenix Rose about domestic abuse and really how to get out of it. She is an award-winning author celebrated for her influential book, Walking in Aloha, 5 Steps to Living Your God Potential Life, which encourages, embraces God's full potential for your life through the principles of affirmation, action, leadership, and love, overcoming obstacles, health and healing, and acute awareness. As a devoted Christian, Phoenix's work is deeply rooted in her faith, guiding readers to lead a purposeful life centered around spiritual and personal growth. She is now married, blessed with children, grandchildren. She has also traveled across the continents as a passionate world traveler. She is here to share her story and how she escaped a violent relationship and rebuilt her life and offer real actionable advice for people who may need this advice. Now, Phoenix, you are a Christian. How important is that for you, and how important was it in rebuilding your life to the life that you have now that you never knew you would pretty much have?
Yeah, I I was a Christian when I came back here with him, and I thought that that was something that we could do together, go to church. And when I was in church, I would raise my hand and I would praise God, and he would pull my hand down.
Mm.
And I
Oh,
was like, you know, that never happened. That never
yes,
happens.
yes,
But
yeah,
he would say, that's so embarrassing.
yes.
Don't do that. If you want me to come with you to church, you won't do that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I stopped doing that.
Yeah,
But I realized that what he was trying to take away from me was what I truly, truly needed. That was the
wow.
foundation that I needed to be standing on. And that's what he was trying to remove. And so, yeah, coming back to Christ, giving my life back to him, and focusing on the fact that, what I did was wrong, but we're all forgiven. We all
Yes,
fall from grace, but
yes,
we're all forgiven. And coming back to him, it made me such a more stronger person. I was able to find that the foundation that I have in Christ, the the child of God that I am, I look at myself and I'm like, the one sentence that is in the Bible that we were created in his image, right? We're
yes,
created in his image.
yes,
So
yes,
that right there tells you so much. And
yes.
I had to remember that. And through that, I was able to write my book. I'm able to help so many people now. And I just love the life that I'm living because he took what was meant for evil and he turned it to good.
Amazing.
And that's like so powerful. And I believe that in anyone's life, that he can do that for other people. They just need to put their trust in him and know that you're not made by mistake.
Yes,
You're not made by mistake. And
yeah.
no matter what's happening or those bad things that's coming across right now, that's all just a distraction from the enemy.
I have to agree
But
with you.
yeah, he's there for you as he was for me.
Yes. And for those who are listening who want to get in touch with you, and also how can they get your book? I want you to share the
Oh, my book
information.
is Yeah, so my book is everywhere. Actually, I tell people to Google it, and they're surprised that it's the first thing that comes up. And I'm like, yeah, it's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. But anyone
Wonderful.
can email me at walkinginaloha@gmail.com, and I would love to talk with anyone who needs someone, just an ear, someone who can understand. Because the more you talk about it, the better you're going to feel and the more powerful that's going to be for you. It's empowering to tell someone your story. I believe that everyone has a story, and I want to help people to write their story.
I commend you for sharing your story. I'm happy that you overcame, you rise, and you came up out of it with the strength and that you have today that you could share. And I hope our listening audience really will get your book, reach out to you, talk to you. I'm Dr. Saran Heron. I'm so happy to connect with you and have you on today's program. Domestic violence is not a common conversation, yet so common in our society. I commend your bravery, your mission to speak out and not silence this issue. My hope is that those who relate to Phoenix Rose's story in any form or shape, please reach out to others. Get out. You too can rebuild your life and rise above this. You are strong. You got this. It's a choice, and only you could make it. Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Rise, available wherever you listen to podcasts, and always right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
They are our cuddlers and coworkers, purr machines and love bugs, and constant companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life so much better. When we face unexpected challenges in life, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people who love their pets and the pets who love their people, ensuring these families stay exactly where they belong, together. And you have something to offer. With an open heart and mind, there is nothing you can't do. There's no gesture too small or too big when it comes to helping. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. You can help keep pets and people together. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
So what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.